Hello and welcome to the fan Batard Show Finds Out. I'm Nasty Nate, and today we're going to find out more about this sound.
Because what I'm trying to do is plant roots and water that, again, torturing the metaphors here, but watering the tree, allowing it to sprout and oxygenate the air and provide shade in this New York office that is full of, and I assume this is not appreciated either in Miami, full of other human beings.
What up, you fan Levitardians, you Flebites? It's Nasty Nate here with another episode, and we're finding out about Pablo Torre Finds Out. We have Chris Tumminello from the show here, a producer of Pablo Torre. Chris, thank you for joining us.
Nasty Nate, the pleasure is all mine, my friend.
That's right. I keep accidentally firing off the long one there. Thought that was going to be a short one. That's how we roll here. And let me tell you, since April, Chris, Pablo Torre has taken up a lot of my brain space of things that I've been thinking about. Announced in April or somewhere in that time frame. Then a little bit of radio silence comes on the show, more radio silence. And when is Pablo's show coming out? Where is Pablo? What's happening with Pablo? And just craving more Pablo. He comes on in the summer. And then finally, we get some sneak peeks, some share and tells with Dan and Mina. And then just last week, the show launches. And I tweeted out, it's circling my number one spot for favorite podcast. And I'm here to announce today, folks, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Pablo Torre Finds Out is currently my favorite podcast. Number one.
Let's go, Nate.
You guys have released every episode. I'm just blown away by how good it is. The share and tells, the deep dives on something. I'm going to say this is the best launch of a show Metal Arc has had.
I appreciate that, man. It means a lot.
So first, I want to find out what you do for the show. So could you tell me a little bit, how did you get involved with the Pablo Torre Finds Out show? And what is it that you do?
Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about how I got involved. So I actually worked with Pablo at ESPN on ESPN Daily. So I was an audio producer on that show when Pablo took over for Mina Kimes. So Pablo and I had been working together for about 2 years on that show and developed a really good rapport. And he left for Metal Arc. I was also kind of just looking around to see, if something else made sense for me. I hit up Metal Arc. They were kind enough to accept me on board. And from there, it just became like talking to Pablo for 3 hours on the phone every night, going out to dinner with him, shutting down the restaurants, just thinking about what could this show be. And so to answer your question about what I do, we have such a small team, man. Like I do a little bit of everything, and everyone on our team, is really versatile as well. So my main role is I'm a senior producer. I mostly focus on the audio side of things, so the podcast product. But everything from generating ideas to prepping Pablo for questions and interviews, cutting down episodes to the length we need them, arranging story and narrative when we're doing things like investigative pieces or deep dives. And then, from there, just trying to organize our team in a way where we feel like we're firing on all platforms. So like YouTube, podcasts, social. You can see as part of the launch, we've been like really trying to stress that you can get this thing anywhere. However you intake something.
What I love about this show, you guys say it on the show that it plays equally well on YouTube or a
Yeah.
podcast. I think you can tell from my perspective. If I have the time, I'm gonna watch it as a show because I think that's always like a better experience. But as a dad of two kids, other full-time job, most of the time I am consuming it as a podcast, and I
Yeah.
don't feel for the most part that I'm missing too many things, but I do enjoy it more because there's so much work that I can see that's gone into the visuals that does make it, I think for me, like it's it's more enjoyable, obviously, if I can take the time, slow it down, watch it. I'm notoriously a fast listener, Chris. I actually usually
Oh, what
listen
are
to
you like
things.
1.5?
No, 2.5 is my
Oh
slowest speed.
my Lord.
Sometimes, but Pablo Torre finds out I'm not going past
You might
2.0,
have to you might
sometimes
have to slow
slowing
it
it down.
down. Yeah. I
You
mean,
can,
look, you're talking to someone who loves audio, so it
mhm.
hurts a little bit to hear that. But I will say this. I just want to give a shout out to our video team, man. Patrick Kim, Michael Antonucci, Nick Wazinski in our post group. These guys are making the YouTube product look fucking amazing. Can I
Mhm.
curse on this show?
Yes, go
Okay,
for it.
cool. They're working their asses off, and like I, I essentially am responsible for creating the bed of the show. Like, what is going to be the content? What is the show's flow going to be like? We lock in the audio, and our video team goes to town, and they're so incredibly creative. Um, if people do have time to watch the YouTube version
Yeah.
of our episodes, it's really really enjoyable and takes like there are jokes that are made visually that you won't get from the podcast. So even if you listen to the podcast and enjoyed it, watch it again on YouTube, and you'll get a different experience.
I actually sometimes do both. Again,
Yeah,
depending on the day, I have, especially last week, I listened to it as a podcast, and then there were certain parts that I would just go back and watch because your first week of shows was tremendous. That
thank you,
it's
man.
it's all it's just re-listenable too because it's really
Yeah,
interesting the things you guys are talking about. And I listen fast, but I still love today's episode about Elon. Elon and his MMA fighting. You know, so I totally comprehend everything that I listen to at fast speeds. You mentioned some of the people that you work with. What are the various branches of the Pablo Torre Finds Out tree, and who's on them? Who makes up those branches that you guys are building out?
yeah. We only have a team of about 6 or 7 people, man, and it's myself and Rachel Miller Howard, who is another audio producer, Patrick Kim and Michael Antonucci on the video team. We have Ethan Schreier, who's an AP for us, Matt Sullivan, who's an editorial advisor, and then we just have kind of like a post group who help make the show look and sound pretty at the end of the day. We also have Sam Daywig, who's doing our social media for us. So
Mm-hmm.
um, it sounds like a lot of people, but with we're really aiming for quality, not quantity, with this show as sort of like Dan's team. They just pump out content mostly live.
Yeah.
They're incredible at what they do. So we're not trying to replicate that. We're really trying to offer something that's supplemental to that or an alternative to that. So we'd like to think that we're focusing on production value, quality, storytelling, things like that. And, while not losing the flavor of what makes Metal Arc awesome, which is like smart and funny, like weird,
Mm-hmm.
quirky, but like hilarious, a lot more casual than what we were doing at ESPN. But still, you're going to walk away being like, I was entertained and I learned something. That's the goal for pretty much everything we're doing. So yeah, I mean, look, man, I'm exhausted because launch has been just like full steam ahead, but I'm living on
Yeah.
the adrenaline of like I'm really pumped with the content we're putting out, and I just hope we can, keep it up.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I'm excited for what you guys have coming next. I think one of the things I'm most curious about is what it took to get to this place. There was those long couple months where, it was 0 dark 30 for Team Pablo Finds Out. And I'm curious, like, what did that look like? What did you guys have to do in New York? Like on
Ooh,
the Nothing Personal sit down with David Sampson, like it sounds like you guys built a studio from the ground up. So you're
yeah.
hired by Meadowlark, you joined the team. What did you guys have in New York a couple months ago? And what did it take to get to the point where now you're cranking out this content?
Yeah, I think, for us on the back end of things, like not forward facing, our launch, we were always thinking about launching around football because Pablo
Mm-hmm.
likes to say like that's the beginning of the sports school year. Like if you launch in the summer, there's some stuff going on, but really like when NFL starts, that's really when storylines start cooking up. People are really like interacting with sports and sports content a lot more. So it was always our plan to use the fall as a launching point. And Pablo got a lot of shit for for not doing anything for Meadowlark for a little bit, but behind the scenes, we were working really hard to figure out just like what do we want this to look like? What do we
Mm-hmm.
want it to sound like? How is it going to differentiate from other shows? What can we use as influences? How can we make it better than the things that we're influenced by? How can we get Dan involved? I mean, I'll tell you a quick story. Like we didn't know to what level Dan was going to be involved
Mm-hmm.
in the show. It was kind of always thought like Dan would have a show, Pablo would have a show. We went down and we shot the Trump tapes episode, which ended up being our premiere episode.
Uh-huh.
And Dan didn't really know like what was going to happen. We told him we're doing something about Trump and we want you to sit down with us. So he had no idea what was happening going into it. And we did it. We embarrassed the hell out of him for like, an hour. He took the hits pretty well. Um, After that, Pablo and him go out to dinner and they were just so pumped about the idea of them sitting in the same room talking to each other consistently. And they were like,
Mm-hmm.
if we're going to be at this company together, like, why are we going to have our own shows and not, interact more? And so now Dan's going to do a weekly spot on our show.
Wow.
We're going to do Share and Tells weekly with Dan. So like, that's just an example of how like throughout this process,
Mm-hmm.
it's been evolving and evolving. Like early on, we were like, we don't know what we want it to be exactly. We know we want to tell stories. We know we want to have hangs, but that was a late addition as of like August. And then in terms of just the infrastructure, like Meadowlark has beautiful offices in New York, but they didn't have a studio. Um, so yeah, they built a studio from scratch, man.
Wow.
Like we were Pablo, myself, and Patrick were all involved in helping out with the design. Shout out to Alex Tyner who led the studio build out, and
Mm-hmm.
you've seen Pablo's set. I mean, we're really really happy with it. It's like super
Yeah.
weird looking, unique. Patrick designed a lot of the art in there.
It
Um,
it looks great. Like I love the artistic design of uh the red and the blue. It when Pablo's there, even it feels like Pablo's intentional about like the clothes that he's wearing. It gives the vibe of like you're about to go on this trip.
that's
So
exactly what we wanted, man. Like,
it's it's awesome. Like when I even just seeing a promo like that gets me super excited. But that's I mean, that's wild what you shared about Dan.
yeah.
So you're saying the Trump episode was so good and they were so excited about it that birthed the show and tell format of the show.
Yeah, so we knew we wanted to have some sort of like we're calling it share and tell
Mm-hmm.
format. We didn't know, we thought maybe Dan would do it occasionally. Dan's, super busy all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that was just like super rewarding for us as producers to like go down there. I was meeting Dan for the first time and he was so impressed with what we did with the Trump episode that he was like, I want to be a part of this more. I think
Mm-hmm.
it uses a different part of his brain than he has to use on his show, and so that excites him. Um, and so yeah, it's been awesome, man. And so we got a taping this week that will our Friday episode will be with Dan
Mm-hmm.
and with Katie Nolan actually. So super exciting. And yeah, and obviously getting the blessing from him is awesome because
Yeah.
the dude is a legend and is the reason why we all have jobs here.
So you guys get this studio in New York and it's like a reverse giving tree. It's a stump and you got to build it up into the branches and grow it out to what the show has become now. Like,
Yeah.
what did that look like? I don't know. What's one day look like from that? Is someone picking up a hammer? Did Pablo actually put on a hard hat and check some wires? Like, give me what a typical day would look like in that process of building the studio.
So big shout out to our tech team at Metalark, who they were responsible for all the engineering and the whole studio build out. You know, we were communicating to them like, this is what we're trying to accomplish on the production side. You know, Pablo and I and Patrick were like, what do we need? Like, what kind of audio do we need? Do we want our audio to be mixed down? No, we actually want it to be separated because it allows us to edit, you know, a little bit more fluidly. You can make more edit points rather than if the audio is mixed down. I don't want to get too inside baseball here, but
Yeah.
but yeah, so like just giving the specifications for like, this is going to allow us to make the show that we want to make. And so there's been really, really good communication between us and the engineering team. You know, in terms of what me, Pablo, and Patrick were doing, and at the start, it was really, really basic stuff. Like, what are we most interested in? And Pablo has, I'm sure he's referenced it on the show, I think a couple times. He's had this Excel spreadsheet of just like, basically Pablo would go home and get stoned and be like, why does everyone in the NBA have Joker tattoos? And like, so in a month, we're going to do an episode where we're trying to investigate like why a lot of NBA players or just athletes in general are obsessed with the Joker. And so it's just like, you know, the cool thing about the show and this opportunity is like one small, hilarious, stupid idea. What happens with that idea when you put a ton of thought and resources and thinking about like what angle you want to come at it from? Like, should we go talk to a tattoo artist? Should we go talk to a player who has a Joker tattoo? You know, so it's awesome to kind of like take these seeds of a thought and then like be able to go out there and hopefully make it blossom by the time it hits air.
Yeah, I mean, I think you really see that in the Washington Redskins episode about Brian Davis. Like, that one was such a fascinating episode. Like, I hear 100% of what you're saying of just the angles that you guys can take on it. And that's exactly why, you know, I'm announcing full stop. Pablo Torre Finds Out is, again, Nasty Nate's favorite show.
Number one with a short fart.
That's right.
Let's go. That part was actually me.
It's not even close, folks. So one of the things that I love that you guys did was your reveal of the Pablo Torre Finds Out name. Everybody, I think, was anticipating Here's the Thing was the name. Yeah. And I discovered who you were from Instagram, the Post-it notes that you guys did. Here's the Thing, like on every single thing. I was like, oh my gosh, like this video cannot get here soon enough. Follow all the people in this, put it in my little file of future, you know, Meadowlark universe people to talk to. So tell me a little bit about what that process was like for naming the show. What were some names that didn't make it? Or is there, you know, tell me more about how this came out, because it's a perfect name that you guys came up with.
Well, it's funny, like what you saw in our trailer, which is essentially the process of like Pablo being like, here's the thing would be the perfect name for my podcast. And that it happened organically. Like we were on the phone talking about like, what could we possibly name the show? And both of us were like, here's the thing makes so much sense. You know, are there any other shows that have that title? And we just Googled it real quick and we were like, motherfucker. Alec Baldwin's podcast is called Here's the Thing. And it was like in the height of Alec going through what he went through with the movie set thing. And we were just like, this is not ideal. Like if we were to name your show Here's the Thing, people are going to type it into Spotify or podcast or Apple Podcast. It might not be the first thing that comes up. Like we got to come up with a unique name. But then Pablo remembered that the Baldwins had been on the Levitard show like years ago. I guess when they were on ESPN Radio, and we were like, what if we kind of lean into this idea that, you know, we want to name it Here's the Thing. Maybe we try to track the bald ones down and see if they'll let us have it. We were seriously considering like being like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, not for Alec to change the name, but just for him to like be cool with it. Um, but yeah, for the trailer, we just tried to buy into that idea of like, it'd be funny if we hit the ball with stuff. And then Daniel was cool enough to like record a cameo for us being like, Pablo, fuck off. You're not getting our name. But yeah,
Yeah.
pretty quickly because of that, you know, we were going to the well for other names. You know, honestly, we overthought it like a ton. Um, we we probably could have just called it the Pablo Torre show.
Mm-hmm.
What I think is really cool about what we landed on is just that it opened the door to give the show a little bit more of an identity as opposed to just naming it after Pablo. Like um it it we've kind of built the show around this idea of like what are Pablo's curiosities? You know, that is like the essence of what our show is. What are Pablo's weird ass curiosities and how can we explore them to the fullest, to the nth degree? Um, and then on top of that, now at the end of every show, if you've been listening, we put this little capper on of what Pablo finds out at the end of every episode. And if you've seen Doogie Howser before, it's a total
Mm-hmm.
homage to that, the ending of those shows. But yeah, I think, you know, there's some, I can't remember specific like failed names, but there were definitely a lot where we were like way overthinking it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, at the end of the day, the Pablo Torre show or Pablo Torre Finds Out were the final two, and I'm glad with where we landed because I feel like we fully bought into that thought, that idea, and it's become like a major identity point for the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can hear a little bit of my wife actually in your answer, who keeps telling me the Van Levitard show is a terrible name. Everybody who searches it isn't going to find it. They're just going to get the Dan Levitard show. You need to do something about your SEO.
That
Change the name
is
of the show.
hilarious, dude. I love the name, but listen, she's not wrong about the SEO.
Oh, she's 100% right. She knows what she's doing, and when it comes to marketing, that's her job.
There you go.
I just teach elementary students, the basics. But we have fun here,
It's good that Nasty Nate is teaching the youth of America. I feel like that's a good
Yeah,
thing.
absolutely. You know, I, we we learn so much every day. And you know, the name, again, what you said, the identity that it gives the show,
Yeah.
it 100% comes through. Because again, just to go back to the Redskins episode, like, you're gonna find out a bunch of stuff. It's gonna be a really well researched show, but you're also gonna mess around, and the whole buildup is to get to a D's nuts joke at the end. Like, in terms of, a Dan Le Batard show fan, it's everything that, if you're a fan of the show, that you could want. It's interesting, it's giving you these deep dives, but it's also gonna have humor within it, and it's gonna mess
Yeah.
around and be fun. And you guys consistently have delivered on that every episode. So I mean, I think having the Pablo Torre Finds Out was 100% the right choice.
Yeah. I feel like now when we look back at it, we're like, of course, this makes total sense. But it's all about just like going all in on an idea. Like once we settled
Mm-hmm.
on the name, we're like, okay, how do we go all in on this now? And thankfully it came in like a really organic way. I mean, I gotta give just a huge shout out to Dan's show. Like this show is born out of that show. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
the what we're trying to do, like they do incredibly smart things over there, incredibly funny things over there. Like we're trying to cater to their audience. You know, we want to cater to a general audience too, but like the Levitard fans are unbelievable, incredibly loyal. They know like good content, like the reception our shows received so far. We're like so grateful for. It's just so rewarding to like see some of the positive feedback and stuff, and even the negative feedback is good too. We know what we're fucking up. So yeah, I mean, it's been an awesome start, and now it's just about like continuing to deliver on that promise of like keeping that good content coming.
So you worked with Pablo on ESPN Daily, which I imagine is quite the lift, putting out a daily podcast like that. So I'm interested in kind of like how does that compare working on a daily podcast to now something that is a couple times a week? Um, is it more work? More? Do you feel like you have more freedom? Um, yeah. What? Talk to me about what does it look like to create an episode of Pablo Torre Finds Out?
It's funny because like we were thinking we had lots of conversations early on about whether we wanted Pablo's show to be daily.
Mm-hmm.
And um, ultimately it was like, okay, if we're trying to cater to the Levitard audience, they're already listening to Dan's show daily. Like Pablo likes to use his Harvard phrase, attention economy. Like there's only
Mm-hmm.
so much attention to go around. Like people are distracted by things. Like we're asking people a lot to like fucking listen to Dan's show, listen to Pablo every day. And look, Dan's fans are loyal and maybe they would do it, but we were just like, I don't think that's our lane.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
there's also part
and
of me that was like, daily's a grind.
and some fans I hear are so crazy that they listen to so much of the Lebitard show that they end up listening to things at speeds of 3 times the speed just to
I,
get it all in. That's what I've heard.
that's what I've heard too, but I don't think anyone on this particular interview does that.
Yeah, I don't know who listens to things that fast.
But yeah, I mean, so listen, you've got the attention economy thing down, it sounds like, if you're listening at 3 times. So maybe you're not exactly who I was talking about. But yeah, I think that ultimately led us to be like, all right, can we do something that's 2 or 3 times a week? Can we do but like maybe up the production value? I think the hope was that we wouldn't be grinding as hard as we were on a daily podcast because that was a lot of work. Um, I hate to be the person to break the news here, but we're working our asses off, maybe even more than we were on the Daily Show because we're trying to set the bar higher. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like you're like, okay, so we're down to 3 episodes a week, but can we just make them all fucking killer? I mean, if you know the Sum 41 record, right? I think it's all killer, no filler.
Mm-hmm.
That's the mantra, man. On ESPN Daily, we had a little bit of filler because you're filling 5 days a week, man. And not everyone's going to be a home run, but we're trying our best to just make every single episode something that people have to listen to, or like at the very least impact people in a way where they're like, yo, I just listened to this episode and tell their friends about it. You got to check this out. That's like the best compliment you can give our show is like, oh, I've been telling people that they have to listen to this
Yeah.
specific episode. Yeah.
So I have my own list of things that I would like the Pablo Torre show to find out. And my goal is, can I just get one of them? Somehow can it sneak into Pablo's
Oh
Excel
yeah.
file, right? I don't know.
I
I
can
don't know
hack
if
I
you
can hack
have,
into it
yeah,
for you.
just one of these. So maybe like you could give me a rating of like what's the possibility that it gets in, or just pick which one you think at the end is. We'll go pick which one at the end is the best. It has the best chance of sneaking into that Excel doc.
Let's go.
So
Hit me with them.
I have here's my OLI. Of course, every top five needs an OLI. Um, does kissing babies make you a less effective quarterback in the spread offense? Is there a correlation there?
So
But we're
when you say kissing babies, is it like Tom Brady kissing his son on the lips, or is there other
well,
specific?
okay. See, that's a good tie-in. I was thinking Russell Wilson and Sean Payton's comments of like, "You're not a politician.
Right.
Stop kissing babies."
Yes.
So, like,
Yes.
but again, Tom Brady, all-time great. There's
Mouth kisses with his
now
son. I
we're
mean, that not a baby though.
mhm,
It's like a
yeah,
toddler.
but maybe now
Um,
we're getting more angles for kissing quarterbacks and kissing. Does it affect their play?
Listen, I can't spoil too much, but we got something Russell Wilson cooking. So you'll no pun intended, but you'll be happy in a couple weeks. We got something going on.
Excellent. Very excited for that. Okay. Now, number 5 on my list here. So that was a little softball here. Number 5. Are the New York Jets actually cursed, or did the NFL jinx Rodgers with their new NFL is scripted campaign? Can the Pablo Torre show find that out? Cursed, or did the NFL jinx him? You do this ad campaign saying the NFL scripted, and sure enough, the first week, what happens? Something that you couldn't script, even funnier in a comedy. Aaron Rodgers lasts all of like 50 seconds for the Jets, doesn't even complete a pass or 0 yards.
As a Jets fan, Nasty Nate, not a comedy. Complete fucking tragedy is what it is. But yeah, I mean, listen, first of all, if we're being honest here, the NFL totally stole that bit from Barstool Sports and the guys from Part of My Take, who deserve props for coming up with the NFL scripted joke, even though they're our competitor. And yeah, I mean, that some fucking script for that game last night.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm sad you even brought this up because I was sad all day thinking about Rodgers, and then I was happy to be talking to you, and now I'm fucking sad again. So next one.
I actually have a brief summary of Aaron Rodgers' performance as a Jet. There it is. Okay, here's my number 4.
Hit me with it.
Is Josh Allen's new haircut affecting his accuracy?
This one has a lot of potential. I'm just saying, I don't know what your next few are, but I feel like I can sneak this one in. I don't know, like if I can get a full 50-minute treatment, but in terms of just it being a topic of discussion, that is a horrible haircut. What is the man doing?
And we're gonna have to see those ads all season long. The hair is it's too long, and that's me. I think Josh Allen's haircut is making him a worse quarterback, and if he doesn't get it cut, he will set a record for most turnovers in a single season.
I don't disagree with anything you just said.
Okay, so that was my number 3.
Okay.
Number 2. This one I think would do some serious numbers among the Le Batard show community. Can Pablo Torre find out who took the fine bucket money?
Yeah, we could definitely find that out.
See, I think that could be.
Do you have theories?
So, I mean, I've actually committed myself to from across the country trying to solve it. I didn't grill you because you were not there the day it disappeared. So every guest I have that I interview them intensely to find out. I know there's a video. I know Lewis has seen this video. I've had a little back and forth exchange with Lewis about said video. I know everyone suspects someone behind the scenes. Is it maybe Mike Jones, who Mike Ryan name dropped? From everything I've gathered right now, some of the last people to be seen in the possession of the fine bucket, or last people to be seen around it, were one Matthew Kugler, who has yet to come on this show. Cougs.
What are we going to do to get Kugler on the show? Do you need me to bully him?
Yeah, you should. Because right now he's a prime suspect in the fine bucket, because it was him and Chris Cody who were some of the last people to leave that day, because they filmed Chris Cody's reaction to Greg Cody's South Beach sessions. So
that's right.
They're kind of they're up there. Kugler is behind the scenes.
Chris Cody is salt of the earth, good dude. I can't see him being involved. But Kugler, who's to say?
What do we even know about him? All right. This guy won't really come on air. You know, what do we know about Kugler? Can we trust him? He goes by Hollywood. Is it because he's flashy? Does he have a little extra flash? Because he took a little extra cash? I don't know. Just saying. Kugler, clear your name.
I think he needs to come on the show. Also, I met Kugler for all of like a couple days, and he's good people. So, I mean, I don't know him well enough to know.
But I don't know that yet, though.
I don't know well enough to know like that he wouldn't take the money.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
I think if we do investigate it, maybe we can interview you if you've already done some research. Like, do you have a
Hmm.
wall full of red,
It's
red
all up here.
threads,
I haven't put it down yet
like the Charlie Day wall?
threads. Yeah, I don't have my full thing. Personally, if I were to have a name, it'd be Mike Jones, who dropped. I spent a good hour researching just variations like Mike Jones, Mike Jones, producer, Miami. And I did find one Mike Jones on that. I'm like, is that the Mike Jones that Mike Ryan talked about? I don't know. But that's something the show could find out. My number two thing that the show could find out, which I think would also do great among the Levitard show community,
It would.
is the Levitard show okay? Was the Izzy and Amin fight for real? What's happening with Dan and Billy? What's up with all the beefs? Can Pablo Torre find out?
I think that what's so funny about that is we're fans of the show too, in the sense that like the Amin and Izzy thing happened, and we were like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like, we are
Mm-hmm.
not in on it, man. Being in New York, so I have found out since then, a couple of things
Ooh,
that I can't share with you, unfortunately.
wow.
But I think it's kind of what makes the show great, is it not? Like, you don't know
Yes.
if it's real, you don't know if it's fake. It's maybe a little bit of both. Um, but I will say this: it, people can read pretty easily when things don't feel authentic,
Mm.
and that show is authentic as hell. And so I'll leave it at that.
Okay. A little intrigue added to it. Well done, sir. I think you may have a career in this business here. Number one. Here we go. Are the Raiders for real? I mean, Derek Carr's gone. They bring in Garoppolo. They win week one. Can Pablo Torre find out officially, once and for all, are the Raiders for real?
I'm buying Raiders stock.
Mm-hmm.
I'm totally buying Raiders stock. I mean, they got to go across the country and take on the Bills in Buffalo this week. And Buffalo is obviously going to be wanting to avenge that horrible loss.
Yeah.
But dude, like, don't sleep on a healthy Jimmy G. Keyword
Mm-hmm.
there is obviously healthy. Um, Listen, I will say this: I hope the Raiders play well enough where like we're forced to talk about them
Yeah.
in a couple months. If we have a streaking Raiders team, especially in an AFC where it seems like no team is really looking that great at the moment, um, be happy to find that out, man.
Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert. I don't think they're for real. But
Damn it!
in this sense, not I don't think they're real because can anything be considered real that's so transitory, changing from one season to the next? What is real?
This is about to get really existential, isn't it?
Yeah. That's where I would take it. I would conclude the Raiders aren't for real, but neither is any other team in the NFL.
I think that it's like the Raiders aren't for real, but nothing is for real because we're living in a
Yeah.
simulation.
There you go. So
So
which one of those do you think has the best chance of sneaking into Pablo Torre finds out?
we're gonna get Josh Allen's hair in the show, because especially if he were to like lose to the Raiders or just continually throw like 3 or 4 interceptions a game. Um, Look, I think he'll probably, we got to do this episode soon because if he
Yeah.
continues to suck, he's gonna cut it because he's not gonna have a
Mm-hmm.
choice. He's gonna be like, I gotta fucking do something. It's not working.
Yeah.
Um, but that was the one thing that was probably most humiliating for him last night was um, he not only did he play really poorly, but when he took his helmet off, he just looked like an idiot.
Yeah. Every time he took off his helmet, he's just got this sweaty, floppy mess all over the place.
Looks like it's like a middle school haircut.
You know, it doesn't help him. We already know what Billy Gill says, stupid face, and now a stupid haircut. The Sharks out there are definitely checking to see if Josh Allen doesn't cut his hair by like Friday, like I'm putting money down on the Raiders.
Let's go. I saw they were getting 10 points. Actually, I didn't look after the Jet game, but they were getting 10 points at some point. I was like, that is a lot of points.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you heard it here first. All right. And plus, that's an end of season haircut at the start of the season. What are we thinking here? That's an end of season haircut, and he's starting the season off with it. You build to that because you're like, oh, sorry about my hair. I don't have time to get it cut because I'm spending so much time. The show Quarterback taught us it's like a final exam every single week, you know. But this bro is showing up. Yeah. Exactly. This bro is showing up with his end of season hair at the start of season, acting like he's already made it.
That's the problem. That's the problem. It's also just like in Dumb and Dumber, I think they say like pumpkin pie haircutted freak. I think that's a quote. That's what I would call that. It's a pumpkin pie haircut. That's what it looks like.
It is. Well, Chris, I want to thank you for joining us. This has been fascinating for me, the little snippets that I've learned. I think you've also done a great job of, my last question was, is there anything that you want to tease coming up? So you can add something if there's something you want to, but if you guys have been listening, there's been little nuggets of upcoming shows.
No, I hope I don't get in trouble, actually. So Pablo's going to be like, why are you giving all the fucking secrets away? No, I'd love to promote some stuff. If you're a Star Wars fan, we got something dropping Thursday that will break some Star Wars news, which is not something we were expecting to do going into the interview, but just so turned out that way. We're getting Katie Nolan back on the show at the end of the week. We're really pumped about that. Going to get Dominique Foxworth involved a little bit more in the show. There's some, Mike Schur down the line going to get involved. I hinted at some Russell Wilson stuff, Joker tattoos. And then just beyond that, there's just some really weird stuff in the works that I think is going to, it's not fully realized yet, but has a ton of potential. And so I'm thinking deep into the fall, into November, stuff like that. I think we're going to have a lot of good content for you guys.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. With everything you listed, I do not foresee Pablo Torre finding out, surrendering Nasty Nate's number one spot.
You're setting the bar high, man. We're going to do our best.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Nate.
So as I look back on what I learned about this growing tree that is Pablo Torre Finds Out, I think I see that it's a group of people who aren't overthinking it, but are thinking differently. And one really curious dude who likes to get high and type in an Excel doc.